camera was crooked. Probably still is crooked, but whatever. All right, good morning. It is Thursday. Oh gosh, I feel so good. I really do love it when it's night or dark. When I leave the house, it just feels great. It feels like it really feels like I get the most out of my day since I'm up before the sun is up. So today I'm going to talk about I don't know how I'm gonna word it. Let me see. I'm trying to put on my chapstick. Okay. So I guess, well, I know it's going to be about children. It's going to be about parenting. I guess I can talk about the discipline or the punishment or whatever you want to call it. So this morning I saw a video, and I will try to remember to put the link. It was a Facebook video that this guy had made with his little girl, and he was disciplining the child, and he did it in such a way that was more in alignment with love than it wasn't, because oh my gosh, it was just the way he did it. And he was actually talking to the audience, so he was like talking to us, saying, hey, this is how you do it. I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. All I have to do is this, And what he was doing is he was, oh no, Zachary. What he was doing was restricting his child. He wasn't really punishing his child. So, and there's a huge difference in terms of what happens to the soul. And this is why I wanted to talk about it, because if you learn to guide your child, and see, I don't even like calling it punishment. I don't like calling it discipline, or discipline is the word I was looking for. I would rather not even use the word discipline, but guide your child. You don't have to punish your child. You don't have to discipline your child. Just guide your child. Guide your child in love, and that will be it. And the reason why you want to guide your child from a young age is, what did I do? Like, I need a gasp. Good grief, this looks awful. Oh, that's why. Shoot. I was supposed to leave like 15 minutes ago in order to avoid this. That's okay. That's all right. That's okay. It's okay, Zachary. It's okay. I need gas. So, if you guide your child at a young age, from when they're a child, you teach them how to live in love as an adult. And so let me explain what he was doing. So the child was in the store acting like he called his child a spoiled brat. He goes, this is what happens because she was like maybe 6 years old or 5 years old or something like that, maybe a little older, around there. It's maybe, I don't think 7, but she was old enough to talk clearly, so she was of that age, whatever age that is. And I guess they were in Walmart, and she was acting a brat. He called her a spoiled brat, I guess because she wanted something and she couldn't have it, so she started throwing a tantrum. And so what he did is he took her outside and sat on, they both sat on the hood of the car. And she was whining, and he was like, are you done? And then she's like, yes. And that was the end of it. But what he did was he let her go outside and release, because he doesn't even know that's what's happening. That's the thing. He doesn't even know she was releasing. All he knew is that she was crying and whining, and he just wanted her to get it out of the system. But that's the whole point, is to get it out of the system. You want to be able to release the emotions. And this is what he was doing. Unknowingly, he was allowing the process to happen. The process of releasing the emotional injury that had entered the child. Because, see, the child wanted something. And so the child desired something in the store. The child saw something and wanted it. And the father said no. Because for whatever reason, maybe they couldn't afford it. It doesn't matter what the reason is. The father said no. And so the mother was inside also. So they were there as a family. And he just took her outside because she started throwing a tantrum. And that was the best thing he could have done, is just let her process it. He said, I didn't have to yell, I didn't have to spank her, I didn't have no whooping, no nothing. And so he also said this, and this was so interesting because he got it. This man got it. He said, when he was young, when he was a little boy, his father would take him out to the car and give him that stare like, you're gonna get a whooping. So if they acted up in the store, he would take him outside to the car and give him that look like, you better not. You better act right or I'm going to give you a whooping. And that is what he changed. He held on to the one thing that is okay, which is taking him out of the environment around other people, giving them a space to release, but it doesn't seem like his father allowed him to release. It seemed like his father took him out to the car as punishment and gave him a look like, if you even like cry or whatever, I'm gonna give you a whooping. This is your punishment. You can't be inside. Whereas this father took his child out to the car to allow her to express her emotions, to release her emotions, and then when she was finished, they were gonna go back into the store. And it was, she was crying and whining on the car as he was making this video. And after, he was like, are you done yet? And she was like, yeah, because she really wasn't crying. She wasn't releasing anything. She was just whining. So when he said, are you done yet? She said yes. And as he continued to talk to us, the audience, she was waving at people like she was happy. Like it was all done. It was all out. And there was nothing to keep her in that space because she released all of it. This is the point. This is the whole point. If you're able to release the emotional injuries, they will not be there to haunt you afterward. If you release the emotional injuries, they will not be there to haunt you afterward. They're gone. This is why it's so important to release the emotional injuries. See, we come from a generation where we're taught to hold everything in. Don't cry. Don't be a crybaby. Don't be a sissy. Don't be this. Don't be that. If you cry, I'm going to spank you. Everything from our generation says hold it in, hold it in, hold it in, hold it in. And right now what we're seeing is kids are expressing their anger. But understand that all the violence and the mischief and the talking back, all of those things that we see children doing today, we couldn't do because we would get chastised for it. We would get beat. We would get popped in the mouth. We would get the extension cord. We would get the spatula. We would get the broom. We would get the stick. We would get the switch. We would get all of these things to shut our soul down. And what we're seeing today, and we say, oh, well, these mothers don't care about their children. They're just letting them run wild. That may be true, but what they are releasing is the anger. What they are releasing is the pain. What they are acting out is what's within the soul, which is what we would have done if we didn't have the fear of getting hit or beat by our parents. And so, though we may see the younger parents of today allow their children to, scream and, we may hate it because we don't want to be bothered by that, but understand that we hate it as adults. Or as our generation, we hate it because we don't want to hear the noise. And our parents didn't want to hear the noise. But if you really look at it, what was really happening is the parents did not want to hear the truth of the soul. Now, they didn't know that's what it was, but that's exactly what it was. They did not want to hear, they did not want to see, they did not want to experience the truth of their child's soul. And they didn't want to hear anybody else's child because it is a reflection of them. They don't want to see it. They want everything to be perfect, and that's the generation we come from. But we're in a new generation now. But we're in a new energy, and so these children are going to express themselves, and that's a good thing because you can't fix anything unless you know something is present. These children, you see them on Facebook and YouTube, and they're doing and they're talking crazy. Like, they're talking crazy nonsense. But understand that crazy nonsense is real. That crazy nonsense is present, and it's being documented. That's the thing is, in this day and age, the truth of the soul is being documented. It was always there, but it was always suppressed. It was always suppressed. Oh, you wanted to present the best family possible. You wanted to make sure that your children acted right and didn't give any indication that there was anything wrong with them, because you felt that it was going to be a reflection of you, and that would have been the truth. That would have been the truth. If your children were, just think about it. Back in the day, your children used to, climb this and climb that and go over someone's house, and maybe they're, touching things they shouldn't be touching. But they're curious. That's the truth of the soul. They're curious. And if they end up breaking something, it's because they're exploring. They don't know. Like, you don't want anything to be, as a parent, as an older parent, you don't want anything to be out of place. And so you control your child. You mold your child to not have a personality, to not explore, to not express themselves. And this is so damaging to the soul. Because when you control your child through guilt, as like I made the video yesterday about guilt and shame, when you use that to shut down your child, or when you punish your child, you threaten them with pain, meaning a belt or a switch or a stick or a broom or whatever it is, when you use this as a means to control your child, you are shutting down your child. And you are taking away the best parts of your child, because you are not allowing them to express themselves fully. You are just creating a drone. You're creating a submissive person. And so when they get out in the world and they allow people to abuse them, it's because of you, the parent. When you do that to your child and they go out in the world and they abuse others, it's because you did that to them. It's because you shut them down. And now they're going to shut someone else down so they don't feel the pain that they felt when you were raising them. This is why it's so important to understand the soul. Because if you really think about it, as an adult, you expect adults to be loving, considerate. You expect the adults to live in a certain way. However, this is a faster way. Okay. Now I don't have to go all the way around over Verdugo. I can just do this. I never thought about that. When you you expect an adult to act in a certain way, and you say, it's such a shame that, this world is going to shit and everyone is so inconsiderate and rude, and that may be the case. But understand, it's only because of their childhood. It's only because of their childhood. So, if you want to see more loving adults, if you want to see adults who are considerate and kind and passionate and loving, then you're going to have to teach your children how to do that. You're going to have to teach your children how to release the things that cause them to be monsters. Because if they don't, because every unloving, every painful experience that your child has is a recipe, or I should say is an ingredient to creating a monster, to creating an abusive person, to creating a submissive person. This 357. This is I'll turn in here, and then I'll whip around. Number 2. Is this thing missing? I don't be messing around with these. Yes. Okay, hold on. I'll pause it. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. So we have gasoline. We have a gasolina. Gasolina. Is that even a word? Is that how you say it in Spanish? I don't know. I need an oil change. I think this is the fastest way. Okay, so yes, the monster. That's how you create the monster. Is by shoving, or I should say, not shoving. That's so aggressive. Suppressing. That's what happens when you suppress, you push down their emotions, and you don't allow them to come up. Allow them to come up and come out, because if you don't, when they show up, they are going to show out, and that's what's going to happen, because that's what's happening. But what we're seeing now, understand these children that you see doing all these crazy things, these kids who are, shooting and killing other people and, doing other things and doing violent, heinous things to animals, and all these things that we see are generations of emotional injuries. That's what we're seeing. Generations. It's not just, oh, that child is bad. We're seeing generations of suppressed emotions going all the way back to the first man and woman on earth. All the way back. And here's the thing. These people that you call crybabies, that you say, oh, you're so sensitive, that is such a good thing. And this is the reason why. This is the reason why you're able to have loving, compassionate people on earth right now. It doesn't seem, my camera seems crooked, but I'm not sure if it's the street that's slanting or my camera. I don't know. So this is why we see these types of people, because throughout all of these generations, people have released their emotional injuries. When they feel the pain of not being able to have what they have, like that little girl who wanted whatever she wanted. She wanted something, and she couldn't have it. And she felt pain. She felt the pain of lack. And that's why she started to cry, because she couldn't have what she desired. And the thing is, we are meant to have whatever we desire. But our emotional injuries, the emotional injuries of our parents, like for this person, you can tell this person didn't have a lot of money. You can tell this person was, hey, I would go as far as saying that they're just basically barely making ends meet. And so their law of attraction, based on their emotional injuries, creates a lack. And this is what this girl was experiencing, a sense of lack. But her parents set that tone. The emotions within their parents set that tone, set that scene for that. That whole setup was based on their parents' emotions within their soul. And so, of course, the child is going to have to experience lack, because they were given that feeling of lack, or those emotions of lack. That's why they're all so miserable, because most children can't have what they desire. And here's the thing. Most children can't have what they desire, and that number one thing is love. That's what they can't have. This is what frustrates them the most. They don't know it. They don't know that's what it is, but they know that their parents aren't around. They know that their parents are so busy working. They know this, and they feel it. They feel it. They're experiencing it. Who's going first? I smell the blood of an Englishman. That's the number one thing that they lack. And here's the thing: if they had love, really, if they had love, and this child is getting love. This child is getting, this child truly is getting love, because she's being allowed to release her emotions. That's the most loving thing that a parent can do in this moment, is to allow them to release the feeling of lack. Just release it. I experienced lack, but I wasn't allowed to really cry. I felt sad about it, but I was taught to not cry. And I was shamed and guilted when I did. So that video that I made yesterday, I know exactly what I was talking about, because of experience. I know, and I see it, so I know how other people feel when they do it, or when it's done to them. So, they lack love. And so if we can give that to them as parents, as adults, period, whether you're a parent or you're just a stranger, if you can give them love, if you can show them compassion, if you can show them all these things that they're going to need, if you can show them what you expect from adults, you'll get it. You have to put in what you want to receive. You have to put out what you want to receive. You have to do that. If you don't, you can't get it in return. So these children that you see acting out, they didn't get love. They didn't get it. It's not about the toys. It's not about being able to do whatever they want to do. If they have love, they're content with who they are and what they have. And the thing is, if they have love, they're able to create more than what you were able to give them. That's what they're able to do. That's the power of love. And so with each generation, you are able to see a change. You're able to see a difference in the human being. And that's really how you change the world. And the thing is, people are so degraded right now in the condition that they're in humanity. They want things. We are so used to instant gratification, and we want to see results right away. We want to take the shortest route to see the fastest result. It doesn't matter if it's the best result. We just want to see results. And this is why people have to keep going back to the drawing board. And I talked about this a long time ago. People just want to have a result no matter what. They just want the result. And they don't care. And the thing is, they keep the problem when they try to problem solve. It's like when they problem solve, they always keep the problem at play. They always keep it in view, like, oh, we can't do this because we do that. So it's like, if you want to change something, you don't keep what's causing you to want to change something. You go to the drawing board and you make something completely different that's going to suit you. And so we have to go to the drawing board, and we have to redevelop how we raise our children, how we guide them. So you don't have to punish, just guide them. Teach them, hey, you will experience a lack if you do not live in love. Seriously, that's all you have to teach them. So no manipulation, because the guy said, yes, I do remember him saying, we buy, like, they whine, they cry, but we buy into it. And meaning, when we hear them whine and cry, we conform. We conform. Are you crazy? We conform. Oh no, we're not the ones who need conforming. Conform to the loving guidance. We don't want the child to conform to discipline. We want to show them that no, crying doesn't get you, or whining or throwing a tantrum doesn't get you what you desire. Love does. That's what happens. That's how it happens. Wow. So, I had mentioned, my cousin was like, discipline and that, but you don't have to do all that. You don't have to engage in love. And the thing is, if you do that, if you do engage in raising your child in a way where you, this is going to be a little tricky. They're all big rigs. Oh, actually, it's going to be easier. Hold on a second. Oh, I made a latte. I forgot. I thought I had regular coffee. It tastes so much richer. Oh yeah, that's good. So, yeah, you don't have to do all that painful stuff. Oh, if you do choose to inflict pain upon your child, spank your child, yell at your child, do all these things to your... Actually, I'm going over here. If you do all these things, you not only damage your soul, you don't only damage their soul, you damage your own. All inflicted pain towards another person guarantees that your soul will suffer and pay the consequence also. I could go straight, but I'm gonna go through the park. Oh, actually, it does say go through the park. A little zen on my way to work. Yeah, you damage your soul. And so the pain that you inflict upon your child's soul, that pain is now in you. And you're going to have to experience it. And there may not be anyone on this planet who inflicts that pain upon you. But when you pass, you inflict that pain upon yourself. Because, as I said before, we don't have God's grace when we pass, unless we have the love within our soul. This is like a preschool, a kindergarten. You're not held to all the adult rules of college. You're allowed some leeway. You're allowed to make mistakes and learn. But you better damn well learn while you're here, because if you don't, and you go to college and shit gets real and you don't know how to cope, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to hate it. Oh, you're going to hate it. What do I do? How does this work? I remember. So, I remember. I won't even talk about it. Never mind. So, so yeah, we don't want to damage ourselves further by damaging someone else. And that's what happens. Every time we damage someone else, every time we damage our child, every time we inflict pain upon our child, we damage ourselves. And like I said, even though we may not feel it here, we will most definitely feel it when we pass. Because when we are in our dimensional space that our soul dictates we be in, we are either going to like it or we're going to hate it. One or the other. You're going to enjoy where you're at or you're not. And most people don't, because of this. They don't know what they're doing to themselves. They don't know what they're doing to their soul. They don't know. And we know through life experience and through history, the life experience of those who came before us, we know that we suffer because of the things we don't know. We suffer because of the things we don't know. And that's why we're suffering now, because of the things that we don't know. Now, I've lessened a great deal of my suffering. My law of attraction has changed dramatically. How I feel inside, most importantly, how I feel inside has changed dramatically. I don't feel like I used to feel. I don't feel trapped in my body. I don't feel, and I can, when I think back on it and feel it, I did feel trapped in my body. And I'm not saying like, I don't even know how to explain that, because it is a feeling. It's like, I'm me, stuck in me, and everything else is happening around me. Everyone else is experiencing what they're experiencing around me. But I wasn't feeling myself, and that's what I mean. I wasn't in tune with who I am. I was trying to avoid it so much because there was so much pain in terms of being who I am. There was so much pain present. I didn't want to be Zachary. So I felt like I was just trapped and I couldn't do anything. And I couldn't. Growing up, I couldn't do anything. You can't do this. 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 It's everything I couldn't do. Number one, my mother didn't allow me to do anything, which is why she was, everyone would say, oh, he's so well behaved. That's because I couldn't do anything. I get in trouble if I do something. So I couldn't. You can't do this. And we didn't have money to do shit. Like, we didn't have money to do anything. I don't know what. I mean, I didn't like playing with kids. I know I hated playing with kids. Kids were just so awful and ugly and just disgusting, and I didn't want to have anything to do with them. And so I stayed in the house most of the time. And so I ended up, watching music videos or whatever, or sometimes, we'll play make-believe or whatever, but I just didn't engage too much because it seemed like everything around me, I couldn't do the things I wanted to do because we were so poor. We didn't have access to much. And I think that's why I like gadgets so much, because I would take stuff apart. I would take the stereo apart. I would take remote control cars apart. I would take it apart just to see how it worked, and that was my thing. I just wanted to see how things work, But anyway, but yeah, it's when you discipline your children, you shut them down. And like I said, one or two things are going to happen, or one of two things. One, your children are going to be suppressed, or they're going to express their pain. One or the other. Pain is either expressed or internalized. And I'm not sure which is worse, because they're both awful feelings. They're both awful feelings, because when you have so much anger and rage, or when you have so much pain and you're allowed to express this anger and rage, it's it distracts you from your pain. That's what the anger towards others does for a person, is it distracts them from their own discomfort. And those who internalize it, they just feel awful about themselves all the time. They feel helpless, hopeless. And that's what I did. I didn't really express my anger towards people. I internalized it. And that damaged myself a great deal. I didn't harm others, but I damaged myself. So I guess if I look at it, I mean, it's still not good. But I don't have to repent as much in terms of harming others, because that's not what I engage in. But I do have to repent for harming myself, because your soul is viewed like everybody else's soul. So if you hurt another, it's no different than you hurting yourself. You're still hurting one of God's children. You are God's children. And so the same penalty that is placed upon you hurting another, it's also placed upon yourself for hurting yourself. So if you prevent another from going after their dreams and their desires and their longings and their passions, if you prevent someone from doing that, it's an unloving thing and you will pay the price. But if you prevent yourself from doing the things that you want to do and preventing yourself from expressing yourself and your desires, or engaging in your desires, or whatever it is, the same penalty is still held upon you. And so you have to pay both ways. The only difference is you don't have to forgive yourself you don't have to forgive or ask for forgiveness for harming another in addition to harming yourself, because when you harm another, you also harm yourself. So that's the difference, is that there isn't as much forgiveness or repentance that I have to do in terms of or versus someone who harmed others. Now, of course, I've done some things because I wasn't aware of what I was. I'm not saying I've never harmed anyone, because that's not true, but I wasn't the type to be aggressive and harm others and take it out on other people. That really wasn't in me. I mean, there's times I did do it in anger, but I didn't do it because that's just what I lived for. Now, there's certain people who just live for harming other people, and they will try to bait you. And Nicki Minaj is one of these people who loves to bait people. And they bait them, they pull them in to this destructive place. And so I guess this to be a little bit more clear, Nicki Minaj, the way she functions is, in order to maintain who she is or what she has to make sure she's on top. And this is why that beef was happening with Cardi B. And so Nicki Minaj is very fearful of losing what she has. But if you look at some old, they're now surfacing on YouTube. If you look at some old videos of Nicki Minaj before she became famous, and just look at her and how much anger she has within her soul, and now you'll understand why she does what she does today. Because she has a platform to pull people in and shut them down. Now, she did this before. She did this long before she became the Nicki Minaj that we have all come to know. Before we even knew who she was, this is what she did. She would bait people. She would pull them in and get them to a place of losing or being out of character, if you will. Who did I get behind? Trying to get them to attack her so that she can cry victim and make the other person look bad. And this is how she stays on top. And you'll even notice, like, when all this stuff was happening, she tried to be the bigger, better person, but she was the one that was saying things to Cardi B that would trigger Cardi B. Now, Cardi B is a very sensitive person, so she's going to respond because she doesn't know how to not let people affect her. Her whole life has been affected by other people. She has allowed other people to affect her life. And so she doesn't know how to be any other way, just like Nicki Minaj doesn't know how to be any other way. And so this is their law of attraction. You have the person who is in control, and then you have the person who is controlled. And this is what we're seeing. So, but what I'm saying is, depending, it really, like, when you look at someone like Nicki Minaj, who baits people, there's an anger, a rage that is within them. And they are actively seeking out people to trigger them, to engage and to harm other people, because this is basically what Nicki Minaj is trying to do. She's trying to harm, she's trying to taint the image of Cardi B. And Cardi B is falling for it. But it's because it's part of her soul condition to do so. Like, she doesn't know how to do anything else. Cardi B has a lot of internalized, well, they both have internalized anger, but Nicki Minaj plays the victim, and she's like a passive-aggressive type person. But your children turn out like this. Your children are either going to be like Cardi B, who are always affected, who are always going to be the victim, or they're going to be the aggressor. And this is what happens with pain. It's going to manifest one way or another. One way or another. See, and what I mean by that is like Cardi B internalizes her pain. Like, she feels bad about herself. She questions herself. This is what Cardi B does. So she internalizes her anger, and she has a very bad self-image. And this is what happens to children when they have a lot of pain. They're either going to internalize it, or they're going to be aggressive like Nicki Minaj. And Nicki Minaj is just more crafty about it. Like, she's not going out swinging at people. She does it differently. She says things that she knows is going to trigger someone, to make them respond, so that she can have an outlet for her anger. Because if you look at Nicki Minaj's responses when Nicki Minaj does something to antagonize someone, and they do something in return, so they actually fall into the trap and say words, or, like this last thing that happened, like, throw something at someone, Nicki Minaj goes off. Like, she is in a rage. Listen to her news with this little, she has like a talk show thing going on. Listen to her rage. Even in interviews, just listen to her rage. It is so there, and you can see it. You can see the anger. And then you look at Cardi B. Cardi B is just responsive. She's not trying to actively put down people. She is just responsive. That's it. And this is how it manifests. You're either going to be the aggressor, or you're going to be the one who's always, having the anger directed towards. And so that's going to be Cardi B. Cardi B is always going to have something directed towards her, because look, what in the world? This is just what happens. This is what happens to children. And so this is why it's good to know how to guide your child. Guide your child. I guess signals just aren't, a thing anymore. I mean, who cares if you have a $40,000 car? I mean, I don't care. Oh, look how nice, he put a signal on. So, guide your children. If your children are acting up, if your kids are acting out, guide them. Remove them from, when I say remove, I mean, how to guide your child is to teach them why. It's like, hey, if a child wants to cry because they can't have something, allow that to happen. Just allow that to happen. Allow that to flow. And explain to them, we can't always have what we desire in this moment. But understand that it's a good thing, encourage them to release their pain, release their tears. Encourage them to do that. Encourage them to do that. Because that's going to make it easier for you in the future. It only becomes difficult when you suppress their anger and pain. That's when they start becoming rebellious. They don't want to listen. But if you allow them to express themselves, gosh, it'd be so much easier. Oh my gosh, so much easier. If I order breakfast again, I really don't need to do that. Oh, but I probably have so much time, I could. I'm sitting here debating about breakfast. So I guess, okay, so how to guide your child? Well, teach them love. Teach them, you don't hit. Like if children want to hit, because they're going to hit. Kids are going to hit because it's in their soul. It's in their soul. You gave it to them, and your parents gave it to you, and their grandparents, and great-grandparents, and great-great, and great-great, all the way back. The fight is in you, and fight is in them. So we have to train them. We say, look, we don't do that. That's an unloving thing to do. We don't inflict pain upon another. Do you like it when someone hits you? No. Well, then don't do that to someone else. We have to treat others how we want to be treated. And just instill that in them over and over, and just reinforce it over and over and over and over again until they get it, and they'll get it. And, you know, you give them time out. You restrict them from whatever it is that they enjoy, because that is the natural consequence of the universe. If you are unloving, you are prevented from doing the things that you enjoy. So if the universe is imposing that rule, then it's okay for you to impose that rule. And this is why it's so important to know the laws and the rules of the universe. Because if you can and understand that the laws and the rules of the universe have been implemented, designed and implemented, and executed, implemented, whatever you want to call it, by the Creator. That is who put it in place. So, teach your children as the Creator has put forth to teach. Restrict them. Understand, and this is why it's so important to know what happens in the spirit world. And this is why that lofty bullshit that people put out there about, oh, you come back in past lives and blah, blah, blah. No. You can't learn truth from lies. This is why it's so important to understand. See, the thing is, the world and the spirit world, or I should say life on earth and in the spirit world, are essentially the same. The rules or the laws of how to interact with other souls are the same. And so when we create things to take them away, to make them seem insignificant, we do ourselves a disservice. We do ourselves such a disservice. Because we stop looking at the rules of the universe. So all these people these New Age people who believe in past lives, or the Buddha people who believe in past lives, or monks, or whatever you call these people do not know the rules and the laws of, or that govern the soul. They've tried to change them with these fanciful concepts. And the thing is, past lives, like, you can come back, but it's not so easy. It's not like after you die you can come back. No, you have to reach a certain level of love to come back. Meaning, if you do want to come back and have a physical experience, you have to have a certain amount of love within your soul. So if you're raising your children to have love within their soul, they'll be able to have that truth. They'll be able to have that reality come to fruition. It'll be able to manifest itself. But it can't manifest itself in love if they don't have love within them, which is why it's so important to teach them love, to teach them not to do things that will damage their soul. This is what parenting is about, teaching the soul not to damage itself or other souls. We see it because people don't know that they're a soul. They're like, oh, we don't hurt another. And the thing is, what we see isn't what's really happening in the soul. So if someone hurts your feeling and you cry, and someone says sorry and you stop crying, that's not what's happening in the soul. That's not what's happening in the soul. If someone does something to you and you get angry and you're like, oh, I hate your guts, and then they're like, oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do it, and you're like, okay, I'm not mad at you anymore. That doesn't change the soul. It doesn't change the soul. So what we see with our eyes isn't translating as to what's happening, or isn't a clear or a true translation as to what's happening within our soul, which is why we need to teach our children about the soul. Not just we are a little boy or a little girl, and you don't hit little boys and you don't hit little girls, and you have to be nice, but there's a reason why. Explain why, guide them as to why we don't do this. Because inside of you are a soul. Like, there's this, explain to them. If you're learning about it, then you have a little knowledge to explain to them, to convey. If you have information of truth on any level about any subject, it is really your obligation, it's your duty to share it. because you got it from someone else. Who did you get it from? Someone shared it with you, because before you had it, you didn't have it. So if someone shared it with you and you have a small fraction of truth, then instill that truth, share that truth with your child. You don't have to be an expert in the subject. Just share what you know. Share what you know, more will come to you, and then you share again, and you share again, and you keep doing this, and before you know it, people know more. People aren't left in the dark. It's not like you go to school, like, here's the thing, how we have learning on this planet. You have to have a bachelor degree, a master's degree, a doctorate degree, a this and that and the other, in order to even share information, or you're taught that you have to have this in order to be in a position to share information. That's not true. That's not true at all. So if you have truth, now if you have lies, that's something different. That is something completely different. But when it comes to the soul, nobody owns that information. Nobody owns any information. They're just withholding it from you because they're able to profit off of it. But that's just a whole different story. But when it comes to your children, just, think about yourself. Here's the thing. If you love yourself enough, you won't damage anyone else. If you love yourself enough. Let me order my breakfast. 1 second. Okay, I'm back. I ordered my breakfast again. Oh, I'm going to be a balloon. I'm going to be such a balloon. It's not even funny. That's all right, though. I bought my pants in a bigger size so I can fit into them. Anyway, yeah, just show your children love. Allow them to express their pain when they have it. Teach them about the soul. Teach them about, why we not just, we don't do that because it's bad. Like, if you're going to be that ignorant, you can't expect your children to be smart. Really. If you don't do that because it's bad, you're bad. Well, shit. If you talk to them like they're freaking some animal, even an animal needs clear guidance. I mean, come on. They need explanation. We need to understand why. We need to understand why. So, it was interesting. I was listening to someone, and they were like talking to their child in baby talk. I'm thinking, just because your child doesn't know how to pronounce words doesn't mean that you shouldn't pronounce them correctly. I mean, what's wrong with these people? I'm thinking, I'm like, what's wrong with you? You oh Lord Jesus. I mean, if you want your child to speak properly, then speak properly. If you not no baby talk, and you don't cut words or sentences in half and leave things out because your child doesn't understand, how do you think how do you expect them to understand if you don't give them something to work with? All this, hi, and the voice that you use, what's going on? They're not going to be fearful of you if you speak in your normal voice. You need to get them to understand and be used to how you really are. Be truthful. Hey, we don't do that. We don't do that, okay? Okay. We don't do that, okay? I mean, what the hell? I don't know. I don't get that. That doesn't make any sense to me. If you want to raise and create, if you want to create a smart child, an able child, then you act like an able, smart adult. That's how you teach them, because they're learning from you. If they learn how to be, so this is where it's coming from. If you act all submissive, because this is, I see it now. So when you talk to them in a submissive voice, that's a form of manipulation. You're trying to manipulate them to do something. So you're using a small voice, a soft voice, a non-intimidating voice in order to get what you want. Well, women do this all the time to men. Babe, but I really want it. I mean, you just do it. And so it's just a form of manipulation. So now you have identified. Now you've identified. Or let's just say this. Yes, people know why you do it. People know why and where that comes from. Women try to do that with me, especially at, they used to try to do it with me at work. And I just look at them like, have you lost your fucking mind? Like, now I'm really not going to do anything that you ask me to do because you're trying to manipulate me. So anytime a woman comes and asks me anything in this soft, submissive or seductive voice, I'm just like, you know what? I gotta go. I'm done. Because you don't want to interact with that. Well, I don't want to interact with that. It's like, look, if you need me to do something, if you want me to do something, then ask me straight out. Hey, can you do this? I need help with this. Like, can you help me? No, I can't. And not until you get your shit together. That's really people truly ask me for my help all the time at work. And depending on how they ask me will depend on if I help them or not. Come at me correct or don't come at me at all. Because I'm not going to be manipulated and I'm not going to reinforce that behavior. That's ridiculous if I do. That means that it's going to keep happening and I'm not teaching them anything. They're not learning anything. Not that I'm trying to teach them anything, but they're not learning anything. All I'm doing is reinforcing this bad behavior, this form of manipulation. Like, that's not loving. So if I buy into that, just like that guy said with his child, if we buy it, we're accepting it, we're reinforcing it, so we can't help but be okay when we get it. If we're reinforcing it, we have to be the bigger, better person. We have to be the person that's more aware of what's going on. So I know some people call me cold, but it's not that I'm cold. I'm able to identify bullshit real quick, and I don't buy into it. And people generally figure that out. They generally figure it out. I don't always have to tell them. I just walk away. And they already know. People know, and you can sense it. They're like, oh, I know what I just did, and I know why he walked away. And the thing is, like, later on, people will approach me differently, in a different way, without me having to say anything, because people know what they are doing. They know what they're doing. And so when we teach our children how to do this, we reinforce it. And they grow up being like this. So every adult that you see, it's because they were taught to be that way. And there's a reason why. Because their parents were that way. And their grandparents. I was going to go in there, or actually I was going to use cash for gas, but I'm glad I didn't because I needed cash for this. Where is it? Oh, there it is. My $20 bill, $20 bill. So, yes, your children. You don't have to spank them. You don't have to yell at them. Just tell them no, and the reason why. Give your children the reason why you're making the decision that you're making. You can't have it because we don't have money for it. If that's the truth, that's the truth. We don't have money for it. And so that is automatically going to trigger something within the child. I want to have more. We didn't have growing up. I want to have more. I want to have more. I want to have more. Not just no. No, because we don't have enough money. And so a child grows up wanting more money, wanting more, wanting more, wanting more. And in that moment of truth, you've created a desire for them, within them, to want more. Not just shut them down. That's what happens when we punish them, but we don't give them the explanation as to why we're doing what we're doing. So if you're restricting someone, it's like, the reason why we're out here and outside, like if they're acting like that guy, who was disciplining his child, you tell them the reason why we're outside, because we it's okay to, release your emotions, but we don't have to affect other people. That's the real reason. We don't have to affect other people. Throw your tantrum and get out your anger and frustration. That needs to be done. But we don't affect other people. And there are people out there who will turn on the waterworks, turn on the tears to control other people. So we teach them we don't affect other people. Just because we are unhappy, just because we are angry, Just because we are feeling the pain, it doesn't give us the right to affect other people. It doesn't give us the right to inflict that pain, to inflict that anger upon another person. Just because you're unhappy and discontent with yourself doesn't mean that you have to make someone else that way. That's an explanation right there. And so they will grow up learning not to manipulate. They will grow up learning not to use your tears to control other people, because we don't affect other people when we're feeling bad. Understand that our feeling is our feeling, and our feeling alone. This is what needs to be taught. Not, oh, I'll cry to control someone else. And that's what he was sort of instilling. Like, I'm not going to conform because you're crying. Now that child has learned it at some point. That's why he called her a spoiled little brat. This is what happens when you spoil. And so he started to learn. He, as a parent, started to learn that, and most parents want to give their child everything. They want to give them any and everything in the world. And it's not about that. It's not about that. Those are addictions. Those are addictions. So if you grew up without having money, if you grew up very poor and you were like, I didn't like that feeling growing up, and I'm not gonna, have my child experience that, so I'm gonna give them all the things that I couldn't have. All you're doing is pacifying the pain. They need to feel the pain. They need to process the pain, not shut it down by all these things. Not shutting them down with all of these things. That's the difference. That is the difference. So, there you have it. You don't have to yell. You don't have to hit. Just allow them to process. Allow them to be in an area where they can process. And that be that. All right? Okay, everybody. I hope you guys have a great Thursday. I plan on having one. Hopefully. We'll see how things go. I'm a little tired, but that's all right. And, I'll talk to you guys later. All right. Bye now.